Welcome again to my channel. I am La Chicana therapist, and today we are going to study on Freud's psychosexual developmental theory. And I did not want to do all of the developmental stages. I'm just going to make videos separately for each one, just so that I can, we can study together. So Freud. Yes, I always think Freud con su barba, right? And I'm like, okay, I have to put a face to whoever I'm talking about. So El Señor de la Barba. Um, I think of like, los señores en el rancho that are just chilling outside their porch or just walking en el pueblo. Y siento como que el Freud sería Don Pedro walking. So I have to kind of like let it match my way of seeing the world. So el Don Freud, he believed that personality development through a series of childhood stages in which pleasure seeking energies of the id become focused on certain erogenous, I hope I'm saying this, erogenous. See, this, a veces el Spanish erogenous areas. I hope I'm saying that right. I don't know why it does not sound right. But this psychosexual energy was described as the driving force behind our behavior as human beings. So the psych includes, these are really important because I've noticed that in the beginning I had a difficult time understanding this. Okay, so the ID, a human's basic instinctual drive like pleasure seeking, right? Like me quiero comer ese pastel de chocolate. Like it's just instinct, like just I just love it. Like, okay, that's your instinct of just wanting to enjoy a delicious dessert, right? The ego attempts to mediate between id and reality. Okay, estoy en dieta. Si me lo como o no me lo como. ¿Me como el tamal o me como la ensalada? Your ego attempts to mediate between the id, which is that instinctual drive, and the reality, right? Because you're like, no, pues si me lo como, then I'm not going to be able to reach my goal. The superego reflects the internalization of culture rules usually learned through parents. Like in this case, it can be, no te tragues toda la comida. No comas puro cochinero, right? Because your culture, like, no, primero se come, primero se tiene uno que cuidar bien. Like, depending how you grew up, right? Those like cultural rules and the way that your parents taught you how to view food. That's the way that helps me understand this part. So, the stages of psychosexual development, the oral stage, and this is a stage from like birth to 1 year old, un baby, right? So, todos los niños agarran las cositas y se los ponen en la boca because they're just curious, right? So, an infant's primary interaction with the world is through the mouth. They want it, les das tu celular, se lo ponen en la boca, right? They see a plant, le quitan una hoja a la planta y se la ponen en la boca. So the mouth is a vital, obviously, for eating, right? The first thing when they're born, like they latch on to the breast of the mother and then they're like looking to just to eat. So that's just the human nature, right? And the infant derives pleasure from oral stimulation through gratifying activities such as tasting and sucking, right? A lot of the times, like a chupon, so the oral stage, that's from birth to 1 year old. Anal stage, 1 through 3, de 1 a 3 años, el Don Freud, believed that the primary focus of the libido was on controlling the bladder and bowel movements. Toilet training is a primary issue with children and parents. This is one of the questions that we ask in the assessment when you're seeing children. Um, how old were they when they started to get potty trained? Because that plays a very profound understanding of their behavior. And let me explain to you why. Too much pressure can result in excessive need for order or cleanliness later in life. So that's what you call people who are anal retentive. So if a baby between like 1 to 3, y se hacen del baño y lo regañan, ¿por qué te hiciste el baño aquí? I mean, obviously that's not right. But if they're always like trying to control like very obsessive, like to the point like, no te vayas a hacer del baño aquí en la carpeta, right? So the child just gets kind of like, oh my God, like I can't even go to the restroom comfortably because my mom's gonna get mad, right? So there's a lot of like pressure, and excessive need for order, like pretty much kind of like you're gonna poop in my way as a parent. So that's where you see a lot of people being anal retentive. And the opposite now, which while too little pressure from parents can lead to messy or destructive behaviors later in life, and that's anal expulsive. So if a child no lo están enseñando, como que they're taking a little long to potty train them, like, oh, ya se hizo del baño, okay. Instead of like, no, vamos juntos para que vayas al baño and you can sit there and, haz tus necesidades. But it's just very like, oh, and the child's like 3, almost 4. So that's where a lot of times the child's just very like, you know, and it does can lead to a messy and destructive behavior later in life. Now, phallic stage, that's 3 to 6 years old. Freud suggested that the primary focus of the id's energy is on the genitals. At this stage, children become aware of their gender identity. They already know, like, their private area. Oh, wait a minute. Mine's different than my brother's, right? So they're able to understand that. The next one is the latent stage. This is from 6 to puberty. Sexual feelings are dormant. Children develop social skills, values, and relationships with peers and adults outside of the family because now they're going to school. Now they're able to like see like, oh, like I can relate to my friend. Like, oh, I like to be around my friends, right? And so now it's friends and family at this stage. And puberty, obviously, that latent stage is the adolescent stage. Genital stage, puberty and adult. The onset of puberty causes the libido to become active once again. During this stage, okay, people develop a strong interest in the opposite sex. They start to like boys or girls, you know. If development has been successful to this point of the adolescent and the adult, the individual will continue to develop into a well-balanced person. They're mature, they can process responsibly their decisions in life. Oh, I see that, people are going to school, or I can just like not work, right? They're like, no, I want to succeed. So they're able to start making decisions very more mature at the end of the day. So this is El Don Freud, the psychosexual development theory. And stay tuned for more.